we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's another snack pack for you. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports, Fantasy Football, all those great places, all those great things. Go ahead and check it on out. And while you're checking out all the great stuff that we do, go ahead and check out our good friends, the Lakerholics crew at Lakerholics.com. Of course, Empire Jeff TV, Lakers in 5, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, also as well, of course, John McCallion channel, Alfred Esmond, Stone Hansen, Legend 350, all these great places. But make sure you like and subscribe us as well, and make sure you get that notification. And make sure you get a membership too, $2.99 a month. I'm going to drop in Jamie Sweet's latest 5 things in a little bit on the members only platform, and we're going to go ahead and have more great stuff coming up here in the coming days, but only if you're a member for just $2.99 a month. And let's go and check out what we're doing each and every day right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Well, it's been an interesting day. Even in their off days, the Lakers still seem to garner some news. I know that yesterday was all about the Lakers rumors and innuendo. Does LeBron want to be traded? Could trade LeBron if he wants to be traded, blah, 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 blah. Well, today, JJ says at practice that LeBron James is out due to personal reasons. Okay, no problem. Obviously, everybody should respect that. But also mentioned by Shams Charania today that the Lakers are going to be playing their G League team in Phoenix against the Valley Suns. I believe going on right about now. And in doing so, they're going to start one Bronny James, who I thought wasn't going to be playing any road games. So what to make of it? I want to go ahead and ask a good man indeed. He is one of the stars of the Lakerholics show, the spotlight that's on every weekend. It is, of course, LRob. LRob, great to have you here. And not only do I want to hear what your thoughts on what's going on with the team so far, but kind of perplexing the way, the LeBron James saga keeps on continuing, and the Bronny James saga at that as well.
Yeah, well, LeBron, I guess, is worthy of a saga, based on his longevity and everything he's been through. So if he wants to create a little extra drama to make sure some attention is on him, because it certainly wouldn't be on the Lakers for the performance on the court. So hey, why not drum up some drama for some off-court stuff? But Bronny, come on. I mean, I'm sorry. I can't keep up with if Bronny's playing, if he's only playing G League home games, if he's traveling on the road. So until you told me that he was playing his road game, I did not know. So it slipped through the radar, but it's good. I'm glad. He needs to get all the work he can get. So yes. Good on the Lakers for getting him some more runs in.
But it just seems very hypocritical a little bit because, 2-3 weeks ago, everybody was up in arms about what the Lakers and Clutch and all that had decided to come to as far as agreement, as far as he would only play in home G League games and not on the road G League games, which again, for his development, LRob, it is not it's to his detriment. And I don't know, maybe seeing how he's performed since he's come back from his left heel contusion, I think that the synopsis was, yeah, he's going to need a lot more time if you think he's going to ever develop into an NBA player, LRob.
Yeah, if you made an investment, you made the investment into him. If you truly believe he has any chance of being a player, he has to play. Otherwise, he's just a, human victory cigar, and that's what it is. And when LeBron's gone, you're going to cast him out. Then that's cool, but you owe it to the young man to you drafted him, give him a chance, play him now, let him play. If I'm him, I know it's easier said than done, and if any of us have a strong-willed parent, it's hard to go up against their wishes, especially if you're at that young age. But hey, he needs to tell his dad, hey, I need to get my run. I need to be playing. So I don't know what Clutch or what you guys had in mind, but, thank you. I appreciate you guys getting me drafted. I need to play every day. So let me play. with the G League, all the games.
So let me ask you this, my friend. And once again, it's the Lakers Snack Pack right here at the Lakers Fast Break. I'm on with the legend himself, the guy who is one awesome part of the Lakerholics spotlight when he's able to come on. It's on the weekends on Saturday. Go ahead and check it out when you can. It is LRob. LRob is, obviously a lot of the problems or a lot of the things that are good about the Lakers and a lot about the problems. Believe me, I answer questions on this any chance I get. I'm answering questions days and past on LeBron. I'm having a long, extended conversation today about who played better at an older age, LeBron or MJ. MJ, in my opinion, is the greatest of all time, in my opinion only. And if you think otherwise, I respect that. But at an older age, at a 38, 39, soon to be 40, statistically, there's been no better player in this league. You can question his defense all you want. You can question his decision making at the end of games all you want. You can question his leadership all you want. I wouldn't disagree with you in the slightest. But the fact is, Jordan was not popping a 39 triple point triple double at 39 years of age. He just wasn't. He was
Yeah.
the player he once was when he joined the Washington Wizards. It's just a fact of life. And I've had the fact that I had to argue with people back and forth is just asinine. I'm not a LeBron super fan by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a guy who's trying to see things objectively. At this point, we're this. I've always said, uh, LRob, that I think that this team is built around a 30-year-old LeBron and not a 40-year-old LeBron, and I think that's one of the many reasons, which you can elaborate into, why the Lakers are where they're at in the Western Conference.
So let me take your beginning part, and my goal is still Kareem. I think it's a
Can't go
generational.
wrong with that. You
I think
cannot
it,
go wrong with that.
yeah, I think it is a generational thing. I think people that of my age, I'm 63, so I think people that are probably in the 55 up may not have Jordan as their GOAT as much. And then the next, generation, 10, 15 years younger are all Jordan. And then you go down another 15 years or so, and then you get to the LeBron part. No
Or you
one.
get into the Currys and et cetera, et
Oh
cetera.
yeah, it's that. Yeah. No one, but it's easy. I mean, this is not even a debate. No one has played at the level LeBron plays at 3 weeks before 40 years old. I'm sorry, it just hasn't been done, and that's why we're even stunned when we see him play as poorly as he has played in some games, because he's just had such a high bar and consistently playing at a very, very good level. So I do remember Kareem at 39. I think he scored like 46 points one game against Houston, against the Twin Towers.
I'll go look
Against,
up his stats for that year as a whole.
against Sampson and
Was
Sampson and Elijah Wan.
yes.
So he had some games, where he would just, and with Kareem, it was when he was playing against guys he perceived as coming for the crown that
The
he would get.
challengers.
Yes. And of course, Elijah Wan was unbelievable, and Sampson pre-injury was pretty special too. So I just remember seeing him, I'm going to say that was probably the year they lost to Houston in '86, earlier in the '86 season. So he was coming off of MVP finals, which no one has won that finals MVP. He was 38 when he won the finals MVP. So it's the following year. So he, I think he was 39 or right about to turn 39. And that's why it was stunning to see the Lakers lose to Houston that year in the playoffs, because it's just like, they had always beaten Houston, and Kareem had played really good against those two guys. And in that playoff series, he really played well too. But he won the finals MVP going up against the Hall of Fame front court against Boston at 38 years old.
His last great year was his 38-year-old season. That's when he was fifth in MVP, and he was on the first team All NBA. He was an All-Star the last 3 years, but
he wasn't. He wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't a seller himself. But in the playoffs at 39, that following season, he still was was very good, and he wasn't the reason the Lakers lost to Houston in 5 that year. So other stuff. I mean, he went up. I think he went head to head with more against more Hall of Famers over the course of his career, where you don't see Jordan. I mean, I can't really think of guys. I'm talking about mano mano, like Kareem would have to go against Moses or Bill Walton or Willis Reed or Wilt Chamberlain or Bob Lanier or Wes Unseld or or Elijah Wan and those guys later on, or Robert Parrish. Jordan had some good guys, but it was never really, I mean, Clyde, maybe, and Jordan, of course, destroyed him. LeBron, I mean, the GOAT conversation, it's hard for me to forget 2010. And to me, that put a permanent ceiling almost on LeBron, on his ability to be the GOAT. If you ever, at any point in your career, was scared and didn't want to be the man and shrunk for the moment, to me, that's just a disqualifier. But if I really just erase that part of it, I would probably say LeBron's had the best career. For him to do what he's doing at this age is crazy. He's, it's no real answer of who's the greatest. All of them, were so great. But getting to this year and the current Lakers and where they're at and where they can go, yeah, the ship has sailed on them. You're right. They built around LeBron like he was playing. I mean, 3 years ago, he was playing well enough, So it's hard. I give the management a little slack. It's hard to say when, you knew it was coming, but it's hard to say when it was coming because each year he continued to defy Father Time. This is the first year where it's really evident that, yeah, he's pretty close to the end because I don't see LeBron hanging around and playing like Kareem did the last couple of years. Now, granted, Kareem was on a team that was vying for a championship, legitimately championship team, so it made a little more sense. But he won't be sticking around, I don't think, where he's not able to play at an all-star level. So
we'll see, my friend. But I'm grateful for you being here. Again, it's just not just LeBron. Although, my gosh, when I go with the comments and I see the comments, I hear the comments, I read the comments, have to reply to the comments. A lot of it is LeBron this, LeBron that, and it's so varying between the supporters and the detractors. I mean, LRob, if you could run my channel for a day, you would just be laughing. Just the varying opinions on the LeBron gate.
He's polarizing. Always has been.
That's right, and always will be. Forevermore polarizing indeed. It is still about the rest of the team as well. AD, was playing at an MVP-like level, kind of tailed off in recent games, but found some of it back, near the tail end with the Atlanta game, and of course played well against Portland. He really needs to stay at a certain level for this team to succeed. What are your thoughts on AD and how so much of this team's performance now ties over, it shifts over from LeBron and now really gets tied into how AD is playing as well?
Yeah, I think AD, like you said, he started off playing at an MVP level. He was incredible. I don't think that's sustainable for him to play like that and to give as much as he was given. So I think AD and the Lakers are better when AD is able to concentrate on defense a little bit more and not be relied on to score 30 points. Because he's only got so much energy. And we want to keep him healthy. So I think Lakers are better served with him, being 23, 20, 22, 23, 24 points a game and being a great defender and helping them shore up on that end because that's where they need to help. They got other guys who can put the ball in the hole. So it would be great if D'Lo was playing at the level he's capable and showed he can play at, or if Austin Reeves. I mean, those guys just aren't dependable, unfortunately. So they have to try to, run the offense through AD and make him do so much more. And then, our defense suffers. And when push comes to shove, AD has just got to play better against the better teams. It's a joke. The Lakers, dominate these bad teams, of course, except for when I go see them, and then they don't show up that one game against a sub 500 team. But other than that, they're usually pretty good. But and it's partially is that AD and LeBron too. They don't play, and more so AD. He doesn't play his best against the best. And really, if you want to be considered one of the best players in the league, that's where the rubber meets the road. So, but he's having. I mean, AD is not the reason they're 12-10. That's for sure. He's done his part. He's good. Couple games, couple stinkers, which again, that shouldn't help him for a player his caliber to be in single digits and check out some of the games he's done. But that's the least of our worries.
Once again, it is LRob, Lakerholics crew. Go ahead and check out what they're doing today at Lakerholics.com. And then don't forget the Lakerholics Spotlight, which he appears on with Michael Heinrich, Jamie Sweet, and the always effervescent and now 80-year-old Laker Tom. Wishing him again a belated happy birthday. So yes, he got into his 80s with style on the Saturday show, and I'll just leave it at that. Please check that out. But also here today, good man indeed. It is, of course, aka Oxide 247 at LakersBall.com. His game is coming out Corrupt on Steam. Wishlist it now. And of course, his company, Simblade, SimbladesWorldwide.com. It is Joe Soro. Joe, good to have you here. I know El got limited time for LRob. I just wanted to give you another FYI on that. But we are talking college football later tonight, just to let everybody know. I still got to prepare for that. The college football playoffs coming around. Coach Joe Soro will be in the house then. But with that, I know that you have a lot to say about LeBron. We've said a lot about him as a player. And then, of course, the LeBron off the court. LRob said it best. Polarizing will probably be the one definitive word that is going to follow him throughout the rest of eternity, in my opinion, as well. Your thoughts after you hear, of course, today from JJ, that today he was taking a personal day off. Now it's several days off. So that, okay, he's got a day off. And then also as well, the fact that Bronny is now going to be playing road games for the G League Lakers, starting with tonight against the Valley Suns.
Was that due to LeBron being personally unavailable?
I don't know. If they just would have said it, that he wants to go check out his son at the game, if that's the reason why not? They've got 4 days off.
It's not like he couldn't do both, though.
Yeah, of course.
The only fear I have left this year is that he will come back for 2026, which I don't know if that's fear or just common sense, knowing that he's going to come back. Because LeBron does want a farewell tour. I would be in complete shock if Tim Duncan did. Tim Duncan retired at the end of his last year without really any fanfare. Completely different personalities. The problem, though, is I wouldn't mind him staying another year if it meant that we had no shot at kind of getting this thing re-registered right away. Or there's just the fact that I can't seem to handle the current regime's focus. If he quits at the end of the year, I also have come to the realization that this management doesn't have a clue on how to advance anyways. So I don't really know where to go with it. It's weird. It's weird to say this, but it feels very Frank McCourt-like right now. And Frank McCourt had some. It's interesting, that the brand. Sometimes the brand can carry you. Sometimes the brand can surprise you, no matter who's in charge. And I can give you a list of that. Sometimes you can get really lucky. I'm going to use I'm going to use a team that's not popular, that's not a major brand, the Toronto Raptors. So Ujiri Masai whom
Masai Ujiri.
Masai Ujiri. I'm not a fan of his. I thought his championship in 2019 was a little overblown in terms of his genius. I think that might have been the year where I started to get this click of, why is it every time somebody wins something they're a genius? Sometimes you get the stars aligned, and again, Greg Popovich almost, it's not literal, but in today's interpretation of literally sent Kawhi as far east as he could. I mean, that's really what he did. He's like, I'm not trading you anywhere here in the West. I'm sending you the furthest east as possible. It just happened that the stars aligned where guys like Siakam, Fred VanVleet, and those guys all kind of just hit their primes at the right spot. And then, of course, you got Kawhi, he's the player that has all the intangibles for championship titles. He can lock you down, and he can score. You don't have a lot of those guys that have ever played in the NBA that could do that, and he did it at a level. I mean, you're talking maybe not scoring Kobe, but my God, the defense, like GP and Kobe when they were really down, and Jordans and all that, but it aligned and it worked, and there was some fortune on the way where Golden State lost Klay Thompson, and they ended up losing KD as well. So now let's fast forward to kind of the point now. We keep. Actually, I had a point before then. I'm sorry. So Frank McCourt, there was a relief pitcher away, a competent relief pitcher away from them winning a championship in 2008. They had lost to the Phillies in the NLCS, and they would have played the Rays in the World Series had they gotten past Philly. All this is if, shouldas, and wouldas, right? I know it doesn't mean much, but I was there. I saw it. There was a very good chance that Manny Ramirez was about the most impactful baseball player at that time I've ever seen. And they were on their way to get into the World Series. And had they gotten to the World Series, it was very, 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 very clear that they would probably beat the Tampa Bay Rays. And they would have won a championship with an inept owner. Fast forward to 2020. The Lakers did a really good job in the offseason that year. Matter of fact, I remember the prognosticators said that they wouldn't make the playoffs. I was like, what are you talking about? They just got AD. How the hell are they not going to make the playoffs? It's weird how things have changed, right? They get AD that summer, and LeBron wanted everybody shipped out, which he got a lot of flack for that. See, here's the problem with LeBron. He gets flack for everything. I give him flack for the dumb shit he does, not the stuff that's not dumb. Okay? He wanted Brandon Ingram gone. He wanted Lonzo gone. And I'm sitting in the back going, hell yeah, get those guys out of here. Get them out. Go get somebody. Because I never really liked Brandon Ingram's game, and I never saw Lonzo Ball as in any way a leader or a guy that's going to guide you to a championship. He is quiet. He does have some skills, but he's not that guy, and he never was. I saw it within 3 months. You could just see it. So they go into that season, and they're wiping the floor with everybody that they're supposed to beat, and they're barely losing to the good teams. And that there was some discussion of, is this team good enough to beat the Clippers? Is it good enough to beat the Milwaukee Bucks? Blah, blah, blah. I said, well, it's kind of, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're competing in those games. We got to let this kind of marinate a little bit. They have a really good team. They have guys that can play some defense, hit some timely shots, and they have AD playing. As to me, he wrapped up the Defensive Player of the Year award that year, the first month. I was like, this guy's unbelievable. And then, of course, LeBron's doing his thing. So then fast forward to right before COVID stopped play. The Lakers had just beaten the Clippers in Milwaukee in the same week. I'm like, it's over. I go, that's it. And they had beaten the Clippers the last 2 times. They lost the first 2 times that year to them. They had won the last 2. and then they beat Milwaukee, which was the favorite at that time as well, to win it all. I was just like, nah, man, no one's beating this team, dude. No one is beating it. I'm not hearing a peep out of that locker room. It was the quietest locker room I think I could ever remember as a Laker fan. I go, you guys ever hear? This is before, obviously, I was on the show. I'm sitting there, like, talking to my Laker friends. I'm like, you guys, do you know anything? Like, what's going on in the practices? I don't hear anything. Like, you hear nothing. Not one little thing that happened with maybe a player getting hurt or somebody was goofing off or just like normal stuff. I'm not even talking about like drama, just normal stuff. I'm like, you don't hear anything. And it made sense why the Lakers that year were so focused during the bubble. They had a focus. They had the right mindset. They had the right players, and they were in it. And even with that kind of clamp down 90 days or however long it was, they were so focused on winning, even with the social stuff going on too, on top of that. Imagine that. They're already focused being kind of secluded. Then you factor in the stuff that was going on outside that had a lot of, they were thinking about shutting this thing down. And they still were focused. Probably one of the most, if not the most mentally focused team I've ever seen. I just don't see. I don't know how much more mental game could you handle, right? And then they go on and win the championship, and I'm going, man, this team is going to win at least one more for sure, maybe two more. And then 2022 hit, and then everything went downhill. And you find out who people really are when things are down. That's when you find out. And I can sit here and I can blame LeBron for a lot of it. Sure. But do you blame, and I'm not comparing LeBron to a child, even though he does have some immaturity issues sometimes. But that I have those issues too. The owner and the GM are in charge. Are you gonna let the kids run the asylum or the house? No. You got to be able to say no. This is how we're gonna run it. I'm pretty sure that guys like Andrew Friedman and Brandon Gomes, they don't really check in with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman on what do you guys think? I mean, they'll champion the guys to come and maybe entertain them, but they're not asking those guys to hey, what do you think? Yes or no? Like they don't do that. That's not how it works. And I truly believe that there is a separation there that should be there. And unfortunately, those things have merged so badly now that it's affecting not only these games and the talent. It's affecting the process and the future. There's no assets to work with. It's been depleted. The assets have been depleted, and then the assets that you do have are not enough to recover those assets, and then the two pillars of your team aren't enough. And it doesn't seem. I'm sorry if I'm taking long here, guys. I'm gonna stop and then I'll let LRob finish up. This is where we're at. We're at a point of no return unless you cut the fat. You got to cut it like immediately. Otherwise, you're just going to keep growing and growing and gaining more weight at this point.
So I ask you, LRob, and once again, we're on with LRob. It's Joe Soro, me, Gerald Glassford, but LRob with the Lakerholics crew. I ask you, my friend, when it comes to the Lakers, when you look at it, I know you had your comments on Saturday, but I hope you could reiterate it for some of our audience who didn't catch the show. Do you see something out there for the Lakers that could put them in a better position now? I know that the Lakers have some limited assets. They do have some limited money coming off the books that could be attractive. They also have the 2 first-round picks. Do you see something Rob Pelinka can do to give LeBron and AD the support they're needed? Or are you thinking something larger with LeBron in the organization or AD being traded being the move that they might make instead?
LeBron is not going anywhere. So, so I think we need to take that off the table. If they aren't trading LeBron, LeBron's not going to ask to be traded. So,
Well, LeBron would have to ask to be traded because he has
yeah,
a no trade
yeah.
contract.
So I would be truly shocked if that ever happened. If LeBron said, "Hey, I wanted to go." Yeah. So that's not, I'm not the trade guy. I don't keep up with all of that as much as you guys do. So I really don't have a lot to offer in that instance. I will say that like Joe mentioned, we don't have that many assets from all the other previous moves, and then the assets we do haven't appreciated enough. Your Austin Reeves, your Ruiz. None of those guys have, nobody that we have truly appreciated since they got here, whereas other teams really want them. Austin, for a brief moment, value was going up, and then people started to see him more. It's kind of like the guy that leaves after his first year in college. Well, guess what? If you stick around, if you hurry up and get out of there, maybe scouts haven't scouted him enough. But if they see him a little bit longer, they may realize he's not as good as he doesn't have as much potential as they thought. So, not knocking Austin. I think outside of LeBron and AD, he is the Lakers' best player and the one I would trust to make a play. I'm the one I would trust to give the proper effort and, to leave it all on the floor. So from that standpoint, but his game hasn't elevated enough. His shooting hasn't really been consistent or got better, and the scoring. So we just really don't have the assets. So I don't see who we can package up and bring in to really make that much of a difference. But again, I'm not as keen on knowing all of that as some other guys, so I probably really would have to defer on that. The best chance I think the Lakers have is for Vando to miraculously come back and actually be able to play, for LeBron to be rested, for JJ to quit, to tell him he has to sit some games, and for D'Lo to play like he has been playing, like he can play. I mean, but we're counting on things that we have seen not happen. But if Vando's healthy and the Lakers, if Christie, somebody like Christie can continue to get a little bit better. Gabe, can get better than he has been. I mean, that's a very low bar, but still, if those guys get incrementally just a little bit better, I mean, the Lakers aren't, they're not terrible. They're competitive against, some of the better teams, other than once you take out the Denver roadblock that they got. So, but yeah, that's my best answer. I know it's not a great answer. And then LeBron, I don't know how much, how much will he decline between now and April?
It's a good question.
That's the scary part, because it's going in at the beginning of the season. I said it. I was like, this is the first time I've seen, and this was before he was struggling to score 10 points. You could just see it. But then, he can go into his bag against some teams that aren't that great and have throwback games. And I truly do believe a player like LeBron, when the playoffs come on, the lights shine bright, he'll be able to, he'll be LeBron, even though that LeBron may be 2 notches below where we want it to be. It still will be pretty good.
So with that, Joe, it is the Lakers coming up on Friday against the Minnesota Timberwolves, several days off. But are you making anything about what's going on with LeBron James, or do you think there's something more behind it in regards to behind the scenes, maybe some type of dissatisfaction? Again, however good or not good you think he is at this stage of his career, people out there, it is very polarizing. Again, to use LRob's exact word, which is very poignant and right on the nose there. Joe, I mean, even on the days off, there's still always something with LeBron James, and it just I don't know. I've become fatigued to it. I've someone who tries to look objectively at the LeBron James whole universe, both on and off the court. I just get tired of it. This all the rest of the stuff. Again, do you think there's something more to what's been talked about? The rumors yesterday, and now today, a personal day off.
I don't understand why you would make it. Why is there an announcement of a personal day off when they don't have a game until Friday? What difference does it make? If they're not playing tonight. They're not playing tomorrow night. This announcement would be relevant if he didn't play. There's no word that he's not playing Friday. If you want me to go deep in this, there's a generational reason likely and a technological reason why. We have more access to instant information nowadays than we did even 10 years ago in a lot of ways. You know, LeBron James scratches his rear end and there's 4 different publications online that'll say it, and there might be some innuendo there that's created. So I'll go on that based off of what this is. I don't look at every situation the same. There are earmarks, there are habits that LeBron does that just never seem to go away, that irritate me, but I think that has more to do with a personality clash. He and I don't identify with his way of doing things. There's plenty of people in my life, family and friends, where I don't agree on how they communicate. So LeBron is no different. I wouldn't expect to think that everybody should have the way the thought process I do. Where I get upset with LeBron is a distraction to winning. Is it a distraction? I get upset with LeBron when I have to actually watch video popping up today on my phone where he's not running back on defense. I didn't ask anybody to give me that info. It just popped up on my phone. That bothers me. And it sets bad habits with the other players. I hate to use the word children again, but unfortunately, that's the only correlation I can put it at. When Popovich is yelling at Tim Duncan in practice, or when Belichick is screaming at Tom Brady, you know what the other people do? The other players? They sit up a little bit higher. You know what players used to do when they used to play for the Raiders, when Al Davis was in charge? When the coach started yelling at them? I'm going to go talk to Al. So what LeBron has set, what precedent he's set, is that he's above it all. And when you're above it all, it's fine when you win. If you're getting your ass kicked, that's when it's not good. Because you will deal with certain things, right? Minus, hurting children, hurting women, and murdering innocent people. You'll deal with certain things. Okay, Shaq. Oh, let me use Rodman. Rodman wants to go to Vegas for 3 days. Who the hell does Rodman think he is? I want to take a vacation. What? What are you talking about? It's playoffs. You all saw The Last Dance how that works out. But you know why it was okay? Because they were winning. So what's the moral of the story, G? What do I always say?
Results business.
Results business. I'm spending 3 hours watching you guys play, and then we're spending 2 to 3 hours talking about you. Why am I angry? Because I just spent 5 to 6 hours paying attention to your shit. Could I at least get a chance to, enjoy wins? And you've set the money in a way where you're supposed to win. You're getting paid $50 million, $60 million to win. If you're not winning, spending that money, then maybe you should spend it on something else. It's pretty logical. I say it in a loud, demonstrative way. Sometimes that masks the truth or the logic or the explanation. But of course, we're on an entertainment show here. Sometimes that's what it calls for. But in the end, LeBron James, if he is not going to live up to what he is supposed to do, I'm sorry to say this, but you can't sit here and say you're the greatest of all time, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm in my 22nd year. I've had this discussion already. Look, it doesn't matter what you did 4 years ago. It doesn't matter what your career is. I'm talking about now. What are you going to do now? If you had won 3 of the last 4 championships, then we're like, hey, man, they're running out of gas. We're going to have to wait this out. And that's life. This is life, guys. This is how life is. We all want things to be black and white. It's just not. There's very few things in life that are black and white. There are justifications that make sense, and there are exceptions to the rule. If the Lakers had just come off a back-to-back championship and they're playing this shitty, we would not be this angry. We would not be going off on LeBron or what the hell's going on with AD. You know why? You know how I know? I was watching the 2011 Lakers after they beat the Celtics, and there was something going on towards the end of that year. I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm like, something is going on with this team. They don't look right. They get swept by Aaron Gray looked like Bill Walton in the first round. And it was that series where I said, who is Chris Paul? I knew who he was, obviously, but I'm like, who is this guy making Aaron Gray look like a MVP? Like, I was in like, what is going on here? They still win that series, and I'm like, okay. We didn't think Dallas was going to beat them. I thought they were going to have a problem in the next round. And they got their ass whooped. I mean, served. I wasn't sitting there. I was watching 2 of those games in a restaurant with my buddies. And I'm sitting there, and everybody's going, Joe, why aren't you screaming? Why aren't you going crazy? I'm like, dude, this stuff was obvious in March. Something was going on. Something's off. And Kobe was on one leg. You could tell he couldn't move. I was like, they're out. They're spent. They went to 3 straight finals. This is the West. This wasn't the East. It's much more rigorous. And I don't know what was going on with Shannon Brown and Paul Gasol, but it wasn't. Nothing ever got confirmed coming out of that. But it involved extracurricular activities. So I'm sitting there and I'm like watching Game 4, watching them basically getting blown out. And I'm like, yeah, man, I think this is it. So there's a difference, guys. There is a difference. You have to look at it from a common sense and informational standpoint. Each thing, we have to judge things. We have to interpret things really honestly in that moment in a lot of ways. And then use the tactics and habits of certain guys too. But if there's a break in there, then okay, that's fine. But if this continues to go bad, then at that point you got to break that habit. Rob Pelinka hasn't done anything in 2 years. Well, how are you going to keep LeBron from not dying? He's dead tired. We can't have a 40-year-old constantly bringing the ball up every game, every play. You can't do that. And AD, I don't know, maybe I might be throwing some excuses for him, but I might be making this up, or it might be in my head. I'm like, maybe he's just like, you know what? I'm tired of guarding everybody for everybody. We talked about that. He was guarding 3 guys last year sometimes. I'd see him guarding the center, then all of a sudden here comes the wing, and here comes the guard penetrating. What do you want him to do? He's tired. He's spent mentally. That might be an excuse, or maybe AD's not about that. I don't know. I really don't. I'm not there to talk to AD, but I think I'm right on that. I think I know that's what it is. But it's still not an excuse, unfortunately. You're still getting paid to do a certain job. I think you're going to have the pressure of doing that. But the only way this thing kind of changes is LeBron has to retire at the end of the year. If he stays another year, which is he's probably going to do it, he's going to want that farewell tour. It's going to be really hard to do the show. We'll still do it, but it's going to be really hard to do the show.
Oh, we'll always have our people that are out there that want to see it. LRob, before I get it to you, was our final question for you. And again, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to go ahead and stop on by. It's so funny.
My pleasure, Gerald. My pleasure.
It's always funny to talk to new people that pop up, and I hope you like and subscribe. Truly appreciate you doing so. But they come by to troll, like drive-bys, and whenever they see something about LeBron on any channel, so they're trolling now. He's including 5ABIVT says something about how LeBron has been declining for past 12 years.
No.
Well, hold on. It's interesting though. Technically he is right, Joe, because he won the MVP, his last MVP at 28. So that's 12 years ago. So we'll give him that one. So the next year, LRob, he finished second in the MVP. The next year after that, third in the MVP. The next year after that, third in the MVP. The next year after that, the fourth in the MVP. The next year after that, second in the MVP. Next year after that, 11th. Next year back up to second. And then so on and so forth. So you get the idea. If he is declining in the past 12 years, it's one of the better declines I've ever seen out of any NBA player, LRob. And again, this team is built for a player like he was early. Like he was even, say, 5 years ago. But the LeBron we have now, I think you and I both agree, LRob, it's just right now for him more than he can handle.
Absolutely. And, I had very low expectations coming into the season, so it's hard for me to even, you don't get emotionally worked up when you know what your team is, really. So, when they got off to a good start, that was cool, but that was at home, but it didn't last long. To me, just seeing, when I saw him in the Pistons game, that just zapped any hope I had, because when you were sitting there watching and guys don't come out with any effort, and it takes them putting in, guys off the bench who hardly, it was Reddish that game who, they put him in and he finally showed some fight. It's like, that's not what a team that's trying to win a championship is about. And then if it's a one-off, you can write it off. But when you start seeing it happen multiple times, 3, 4, 5 times, so it is what it is. I'm reduced to watching LeBron at this age, hoping he can have a good game and say, okay, great. I'm watching history. This guy at 40 years old is probably doing something that we may not ever see again. You're kind of reduced to that. And then other than that, you're watching to see if Connect can grow and, see who can be a part of some future. It was exciting to see him come out the gate, and when he got into the starting role and heat up like he did, that was another slight glimmer of hope. But the team is what it is, and yes, it's like someone said in the chat, it's unfair for someone to expect LeBron to do that at this age. But guess what? Like Joe said, he's making the money he's making. So you know what? At that amount of money, you should be playing at the MVP level. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. But the reality is, he's not that player. So the Lakers can, and other guys haven't stepped up. So LeBron feels he has to do more, and we know that doesn't work. So they have their ceiling is not very high as based on what we've seen currently, and I don't expect much to change. I'm a more optimistic person by nature, so of course I hope Vandal comes back and all those other things I mentioned early happen. But would I put one penny on expecting it to happen? No. Do I expect the Lakers to make a big splash and bring in something that somehow provotes them to being competitive with OKC and some of the other better teams in the West? No, I don't see it. And most of the names I see that are being bandied about. I don't see them adding a ton of value to the Lakers. So, but hey, that's Rob's and them jobs. Maybe they can, surprise me. Who knows? Come up with a great trade. It seemed to help a couple years ago when they made the move and re-energized the team and got us, to the conference finals. So
we'll see what happens, Joe.
I'm going to comment on LeBron's career. And I think you all know my feeling on the MVPs the last 30 years on how much they've butchered it. And I'll start from the beginning. Start when the years I've been paying attention, which is really since 1991. I don't care how good Charles Barkley played in 93, and I don't care how good Karl Malone played in 97. That MVP belongs to Michael Jordan. There was no human on earth more valuable in basketball than Michael Jordan. That's when it started. Then you started seeing Shaquille O'Neal losing MVPs to Tim Duncan and Allen Iverson. Unacceptable by the voters.
Steve Nash, too.
Steve Nash in 05. Although I will say this, LRob, my God, that team, that was his best shot.
The 7 seconds or less?
That was his best shot. He had Joe Johnson on that team. Joe Johnson, a lot of people don't know this, he's actually second all time with 8 with Kobe, last buzzer beaters. Michael's got 9. So that was the team that Phoenix probably had in terms of in my opinion, their best shot to win. And the way Nash transformed that team, there's an argument there. But it's Shaq too. So I totally get it. And then Kobe not winning the MVP in 06, especially years later when James Harden and Westbrook won theirs for what they did, that was a travesty. And I don't care what anybody says. Kobe should not. Yeah. Kobe should have won in 06. He won in 08, 09, and 2010.
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm talking about with Nash more so, Joe.
Yeah, The 05 one was the one that Shaq barely missed the MVP. I remember that vividly. Yeah. Then we talk about LeBron. Okay, folks. For those of you who don't look, you all know how I feel about LeBron, but this has nothing to do with facts. LeBron should have 6 MVPs right now based off of what he has. Okay, he won in 09, he won in 10. Okay, that's what happened. 2011, he lost it to Derrick Rose. He's having a good year, we're going to give it to him type award. And I'm not trying to dog on Derrick Rose, but who is the most valuable player in the NBA at that point? Who is the best player in the NBA? You're telling me it's not LeBron James? So 2011, we'll look at that. Fast forward to 2014. Kevin Durant wins. I know you said Kevin Durant was probably starting to creep above.
For a short period of time.
Okay. I'll give you that one, but I'm still not saying Durant has ever been better than LeBron James. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
It's just a matter of opinion. That's fine.
I get it. Then, and I'm going to give Russell Westbrook the 17 MVP because he had an unprecedented year, at least at that time. We had not seen since Oscar Robinson a guy triple-double an entire season. Wow. Okay. So, 11. I'll for Gerald's sake, I'll give 14 to Durant. But LeBron should have had 11, and he definitely should have had 18. James Harden was the MVP that year. James Harden has never. LeBron came in second that year, by the way. James Harden, in my book, has never, ever been an MVP in any way. Ever. Never. I don't ever believe he was ever an MVP. So when you talk about LeBron's dive or getting less LeBron with his athleticism, no. If you look at past players, you saw plenty of players that were freaks in the first 6, 7 years of their careers, and then all of a sudden become more grounded yet more lethal because now they know the game better, they know angles, and they know positioning, and they know where you're going to go more, and they become even better. And you can look at Kobe and Michael Jordan as a barometer to that.
So before we end on out, one last word. I know we're overstaying our welcome, and I do truly appreciate you staying on more than you intended to, LRob. But real quick, right now, again, the Lakers start on Friday. They have the game coming up against Minnesota. They have the game against Memphis, but they get another 4 days off for that before they go to in Sacramento. Let's just say you already talked about what they're going to do or what you think they're going to do in their anticipation for whatever's going on with Vando, and hopefully he'll come back sooner rather than later. But for right now, do you see them closing out the year stronger than they did this time last season? Do you see or provide any hope for the Lakers fans out there that desperately want something to start going right for this team?
Well, the good news is with all the time off for LeBron and AD, you get the best versions of them. They are not, the Lakers' best two players need more rest than the other team's best players. So that is what we do have going for us. Closing out the year, we should get a fresher LeBron and a fresher AD. So that does give us a glimmer of hope. Let's see. I mean, Minnesota, that's going to be an interesting game. Memphis is going to be tough. Then we got the Kings back to back. That's always a struggle. Detroit at home, going to Golden State Christmas Day. And then, you got the Kings 3 times in 10 days. Let's see, 3, 6, 7 games the rest of the year. Split the first Minnesota, Memphis, split 2 Sacramentos on the road, beat the Pistons. 4-3. So is that considered finishing strong?
It's stronger than what other people have thought.
Yeah, they'll get 4 of those games. So,
all right,
it's nothing to write home about, but yeah, you're not in the tank. You're good enough where you're right in the 7th and 8th or whatever spot, and you're not really making up ground. But that's a decent stretch, even though Sacramento hasn't played well. As the Lakers' luck would have it, Monk is probably back and catching his groove by now. By the time we start playing him again, so and he's been a Lakers killer, when we played him. But yeah, so nothing. Yeah, no, we're not going 0-7, 1-6, 2-5. And the flip side is we're not going 7-0, 6-1, 5 or 2 either. We're going to be right in the middle. That's the way I see it.
Well, some great thoughts from our chat. Excellent thoughts, of course, from LRob. Great to have him here as always. Joe, we're going to be back on in about a couple hours at 9 p.m. with the Joe Soro College Football Playoff Special Extravaganza. Something special for our viewers. LRob, any
who's the favorite? Can you give me a sneak peek, or you want to save it to the show?
No, I've already talked about it. In certain circles, I know that they have a little bit of a quarterback thing going on right now in Georgia, but my first instinct was Georgia got in, obviously, and then I think they were waiting to see if Alabama was going to get in. And I was like, if Alabama doesn't get in, they're going to go, yes!
They breathed a heavy sigh of relief.
My instincts went right away to Georgia winning it all. Even with Gunnar Stockton being the guy. It doesn't look like, I don't know if Beck's going to be back.
Yeah, but the good news is it's kind of wide open. There's no dominant team. I
just think there's a psychological edge. The way Georgia won the SEC, it was like this thing where I think Kirby's got he can get these guys now like, all right, we won the SEC finally. We don't have to deal with Alabama. We didn't have to deal with Alabama in the SEC. Again, these guys lost to Alabama this year. So I have a good feeling that I have a pretty. I'm picking Georgia to win it.
Well, Oregon Georgia finals would be tasty.
It would. I actually don't have Oregon in the finals, but I'll explain why tonight on that one.
Sounds good.
I might be wrong, but I always feel like no matter what, the Power 5 teams are always going to somehow figure out a way to get up there. But we'll see.
I will say, LRob, who do you think is going to win? LRob.
Well, let's see. I mean, Joe, I wouldn't bet against Kirby either. I mean, coaches in these games, I mean, we've seen Ohio State coach, and man, if I'm a Buckeye, he would have been the way the Bears coach went after that Michigan game. It's like, dude, sorry, thank you for your service, but yeah, if this was a 14 playoff where they'd be sitting on the outside, then he probably would have been gone by now. But his saving grace was his 12 team. But teams like that, without coaching, when the push comes to shove, I would probably have to go with Joe with Georgia. Although Oregon has seemed to be that team. They pull out all the close games this year. They've gotten close, in the past. This might be their year too. So
fair enough.
Big Ten might finally get it back to back. Hey, look at that! Thank you, Oregon, for joining the conference.
I'll tell you what, though. LRob, it's always great to have you here, my friend. I know that you're a great part of the Lakerholics crew when you're able to join that show. Hopefully you guys will be able to do something this weekend. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
No, it's just the doldrums of the season, just waiting on something to happen. See if something's really going to happen with the Lakers. Let's get to it. But other than that, just enjoying, I'm enjoying watching teams like Oklahoma City, man, teams that's getting after it, teams that are young, teams that are hungry. Of course, I can never enjoy watching Boston dominate, but it's good to see Cleveland growing up. So, I'm watching the other teams and Houston, teams like that's growing up, and I'm enjoying LeBron, seeing what he can do when he can have those throwback games. That is something I do truly appreciate and won't take for granted, to see somebody knocking on 40's door do what he does occasionally.
Sounds good, my friend. But I do note for the chat, for any members that are out there, $2.99 a month, you now have an LRob emoji that you can go ahead and showcase right there, along with Legend 350 and Alfred Esmond. I updated it right there for you. So yes, and of course you do have the Joe and me emojis there as well. So emojis, all that good stuff right there for $2.99 a month. But Joe Sorrell and I will be back at 9 p.m. to talk some college football. But for now, LRob, thank you so much for being part of what we're doing here. And thank you out there for what you do for us right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.